Yeah. What the hell is this? Oh. Oh yeah, I had to set in my workout. I need to change it. I'm sorry if I need to change that. I really just doing that. But so how are you guys doing today? I just bought a new game. It's part to be here this weekend.
Of a white Christmas. It's the most wonderful time of the year, with the kids jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's the happiest season of all, with those holiday greetings and gay happy meetings when friends come to call. It's the happiest season of all. There'll be parties for hosting, marshmallows for toasting, and caroling out in the snow. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be scary ghost stories and tales of the glories of Christmases long, long ago. It's the most wonderful time of the year. There'll be much mistletoeing and hearts will be glowing when loved ones are near.
the night wind to the little lamb. Do you see what I see? Way up in the sky, little lamb. Do you see what I see? A star, dancing in the night, with a tail as big as a kite. With a tail as big as a kite. Said the little lamb to the shepherd boy, do you hear what I hear?
Do you hear what I hear?
Ringing through the night, shepherd boy. Do you hear what I hear?
Do you hear what I hear?
A song high above the trees, with a voice as big as the sea. With a voice as big as the sea.
Said the shepherd boy to the mighty king, do you know what I know?
Do you know what I know?
In your palace warm, mighty king, do you know what I know?
Do you know what I know?
A child, shivers in the cold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Let us bring him silver and gold.
Said the king to the people everywhere, listen to what I say.
Pray for peace, people everywhere.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Make the Yuletide gay.
Make the Yuletide gay.
From now on, our troubles will be miles away.
Okay.
Here we are as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more.
Yeah, I
Through
take
the
this for
years, we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now.
Here we are as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends
Through the years, we all will be together if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bar and have yourself a merry little Christmas now.
I really can't
But
stay.
baby, it's cold outside.
I've got to go
But
away.
baby, it's cold outside.
This evening has
Been hoping that you drop
so
in.
very nice.
I'll hold your hands, they're just like
My mother
ice.
will start to
Beautiful, what's your
Fuck me. God damn it. Uh, fine. Jag har YouTube har jag filmat en couple of times. We do a cone on last. I think in number 3 need to be what is that? This is not okay. I probably set up tray for wood. Oh yes, this is grass. Okay, this is grass. This is a cone. There's the cone. The bottom sit. Also cone. So this, but yes, it's also cone. This is simping. Okay. So first I need cut first, and then this I need cut last. This is also sleeping. This is here also sleeping. About no 7. Not a corn. This is not well, got that so no 30 is yeah, here you go right there. The thing is sometimes we get enough frozen but for this kind of game. Keep in mind you have to put up bills, so okay then. That kind of stupid, but let me delete that. Uh, we may end it. Let me delete that. Uh, uh, Yeah, we gotta cut down a lot of trees. No. It's winter time because I probably a couple more winter time because we're a butt right there, motherfucker. Where you at, pa? Ah. We may let me pause a minute. So we may we might just after Christmas probably put on the roof on the house, but I'm not 100% sure yet, but yes, what's the time we will cut down the trees. That field. Like I said, I might be able to buy another grocery spot. The two of them, I am impatient at two of them. But that is some net here. Okay, I need to get two of them one for a bar track or that is something required. Also, I will be set up my OBS tomorrow on kit, but I need to figure out what I got to do. Have something because I want to pay truck up. It's up. And I want to do this. Oh. My friend, I want to pull them hill up that way and get out of that, you know, come around. I'll try it now. So why it delay? No, fuck the damn GPS, bro. Fuck that. Reset this damn thing. Me car, me AC is snowing. Ah, I tried to my friend on Twitch. Sorry about that. So I thought you looking at the face and not how you guys how them fired out there or something. You better move, dear. You better move. What the damn GPS? The GPS is shit on this damn game. This map right here. Yeah, I tried to celebrate on my Twitch because I met a dream on Twitch, and because Twitch is really fucked me over with a views count, and it does not it does not count my ads. So I talked to Twitch report on that. Like any A do something about it, or B I need to fit that one away. B I'm about to quit on live stream on Twitch. I'm going to one more. Okay, Twitch right now I can't even imagine. Right now the all rent that go up. And I told my mom, I said, I'm gonna move and buy a fucking land. Instead of pay a fucking rent, a lot of rent. So how are you? I'll probably make another channel on Wobble to upload a lot of videos, but I know YouTube does not like Christmas music. Does not like a Christmas music. Let me. I not thought you were watching me. I could go over there and listen to it, but okay, so this video is not yeah, this video is not even what? Yeah, this video will not work. I'll probably put I'll put in this video of put the equipment away down here. Put the going not this way. What? Yeah, in 10 minutes I have to go and pick up my brother up from um from a walk. So I may not I may live stream on you know, just how you guys watch YouTube where I go and pick up my brother up. Ja, ich tell my mom that not way to another tall water bill. I thought it was the side guy. Oh, so I might if I learn that hill or up the top of town or something. Just move this house, but it probably after I finish this video, I probably it's just time to come pick up my brother up for a walk. Yeah, I think this video right here is a little walk down on this field, but okay, it's a one way. But that time on fall, it's free. We will pay ATS a whole week. It's about food. That awesome. You know, I might get a free call up there on the field. I need to write down which field is a should be field. And I totally forgot. God dang it. I know this field. I know this field is the pond. Alright. Let me make a list. Because I always going to be forget. Yes, it's a no top. Field 12 is on. And this right here is. Man, I don't really wish that they can tell us fucking see. So it's a something. It's a no level, right? Yeah, a number level. 11. in, and then number 10 is also been, and in. Okay, number 9 is also been. I know this right here is corn. Number 10, number, what was that? No, 18, corn. It's also not, and then 19 is corn also. Corn. Alright. It's a number 19, and I know the number 21 is corn. And the 3 is nothing, and the front 1 is grass. Front 1 is grass. Okay, and then number 16 is also grass. And then I think about use the storage for storage. Because right now, with the storage on this, like the corn or like that, in the grass or something extra grass, extra, whatever. What about number 6? And number 6 is corn. And number 4, I know that, number 4 is bean. Let me see that. I might go a different way. No, it's a. That's why I want to keep track my I want to call feel, but you feel probably it's just equipment to say, or yeah, 55 is feel probably equipment doing say. Because I had so many feel that, whoever. So, about 18 miles from I live with my fellow work at, I might not be, likely not much tonight because tomorrow I will. I try to stay up the best I can, but about 5 minutes, or yeah, 5 minutes I would be, hey, game it that fair, bud. We're up, buddy. Hey, bud. You get the cut out of me too, by the way. Uh, no, this is about almost done. I need to get the green card up on one, but that's just for a coin. I'll probably be able to buy a old common. Right. What is it? This old style common. It's 5 o'clock. It's not 5 o'clock. Okay. Oh, nothing much. I'll be right back, guys. I'll probably leave my stream. Eat the post. Yeah. Guys, let me be right back. I will be leave my YouTube video. What is it, Mama? No. Let me.
Just to see what there's farm. As far as bringing this thing back to like new condition, because it doesn't run too bad now, but we need to verify some things first. I drained the oil and the coolant and the gasoline. I also degreased and pressure washed this tractor outside, which will make my cleanup work a little bit easier. She was pretty clean to begin with because I've washed it before, but touched her up a little bit. First thing we got to do is remove this cowl or radiator grill, whatever you want to call it. She's pretty bent up. I'm going to have to do some straightening work on this. And next, unfortunately, I'm going to have to remove this alternator that I just put on. That's the way it goes. Take the radiator brace off. Disconnect the top radiator hose and get it freed up. Loosen up the lower radiator hose and get it freed up. Take out the bottom radiator mounting bolts here to free up the radiator. Well, come on, you. A lot easier to get at than on an H&M, that's for sure. All right, let's see if we can get this loosened up and off. There we go. This radiator is toast. It's been patched a bunch of times, and it does it weeps. That's what I call it. I have to put some coolant in it a couple times a year. It weeps around this connection. In the old days, you could bring it to a radiator shop. Those things are mostly a thing of the past, and I feel more comfortable with a quality new radiator. I get my new radiators from Northern Radiator. Next, to pull this top radiator hose off. This is the thermostat housing. There's the thermostat. Let me get the snap ring out of here. There we go. That's the thermostat. I've replaced that in the past. Now we can loosen up this fan on its adjustment bolt and take it off. Well, I can see a lot better than the last time I was at these belts. That's for sure. Then take off the sender that goes to the temperature gauge here. I've replaced this too. Replaced a lot on this tractor over the years. There we go. Then we can take this fan mount and thermostat housing off. we're headed toward taking the head off here. That's the first major engine component we want to get apart. Well, you're tight. We'll put the 1/2-inch ratchet on you. You're rusted right in there, aren't you? Don't break. Just in review, since I'm starting a new series here, I like using hand tools most of the time. Ratchets and wrenches instead of power tools. It's just more relaxing for me. This is what I do for fun as well as to benefit the farm. Well, at least you didn't break. Okay. Now we can see what's going on in here. So the fan and the upper radiator connection was here. The water pump is actually down here, and I suspect that's not up here because that was a later add-on. This engine was first designed without a water pump on it. It was just thermosiphon. So that's the water pump pulley. This is the crank pulley, and then this is the governor here, and this connection going through here is how the governor controls the carburetor fuel supply. So the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to take off the air cleaner, the carburetor, and the manifold, and I'm going to go ahead and first take off the fuel line to get that out of the way up at the sediment bowl. Why won't you come off? You were telling me just yesterday you wanted to come off. Did you change your mind? There we go. Get that out. Now we got to reach back here and disconnect the choke rod on the carburetor. These are always fun to get to. Gotta get the little cotter pin out. There we go. Can disconnect this air cleaner where it connects to the carburetor here. Then we can take the carburetor off. I find it's easier to take the bolts off the top of the carburetor and then disconnect this governor linkage that's on the back side after we get the carburetor loose. And this carburetor is definitely going to need a rebuild. I have not rebuilt it since I owned the tractor. This brazing you see here is a vacuum port that got sealed up at one time or another. You see that quite often on these. Now we can get at the governor linkage a little more easily. We got to pull the cotter pin out of here. There we go. One Zenith carburetor. Take the intake and exhaust manifold off. They're one piece. Hopefully none of the bolts will snap. This is a 1953 Super C, and the engine is 123 cubic inches. It's a C carbureted, 123. And this model succeeded the regular C tractor, and the differences between a regular C and a Super C are the increased engine displacement, 10 cubic inches. The regular C was 113 cubic inches. Pretty much the same engine with a smaller bore, and it's the same engine that started out in the Farmall A. I've worked on a bunch of this family of engines, pretty familiar with them. Other differences between the C and the Super C has a water pump, the regular C did not. They made the radiator a little taller. I think it was to do with maybe greater compression and more cubic inches in the engine. The regular C had live hydraulics on it like this does with rock shaft arms, and then it's got a 2-point hitch in the back, a Farmall fast hitch. And the other difference is that the Farmall C had band brakes, and this has got disc brakes on it. There were a whole bunch, if you look in some of the literature, there's a lot of other smaller differences, but those are the main ones. None of these studs broke off. That's very good. Look at those little teeny ports. Just in review, one of the ways I keep track of what goes where is I use Ziploc bags and I label them. These are the manifold nuts here. And then I put them in a cardboard box and I know what hardware goes to what. That finishes that side of the engine all cleaned off. On this side we just got to take the plugs out. Come off, you. Here are the plugs in order. We got a decent burn on 1 and 2. I like to run these tractors a touch rich, better a touch rich than lean. These look all right to me. Sooty, a little bit. But 3 and 4, this engine burns some oil. You know, it smoked mainly on startup, but it really smoked. You could always see smoke coming through the exhaust pipe. And you can see where we're getting some oil blow by on these. Now we're getting into the engine. Pull the valve cover off. See what's inside. Here's what we got: rocker arms, push rods, valve springs. I don't see anything disastrous here. This milky oil is caused by us running the tractor for short periods a lot of time. It doesn't warm up enough to boil the water off, condensation inside the block. She's crusty. Next job is to pull this rocker arm assembly. So much simpler than the MD was. These are nice little engines to work on. Push rods can come out. Don't need to keep track of where they go because we adjust the valve lash when we put the engine back together. And I'm going to go ahead and pull these studs off now. They got to come off sooner or later. It's easier when the head's still on. Alrighty, here we go. We're going to loosen up the head nuts in reverse order of the way we would torque them down putting it on. Just loosen them up a tad to begin with. I have all of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 head nuts on this. Easy peasy. I put the hoist on. It's a good way to pop the head loose, even though this head's fairly light. Put some tension on it. Give her a few whacks. She's coming. There we go. Ow. Well, what do we see in here? Nothing surprising at first glance. Carbon on the pistons. I don't see any obvious leaks in the head gasket, which I didn't think there were any. I guess it looks like what I would expect. Let's see how much of a ridge we got on the sleeve here. Not much of a ridge at all, which the ridge indicates how worn things are, how long it's been running with that piston and sleeve. I can barely feel it with my fingernail. Get you, see, really no ridge at all. That is a good sign. Means the engine doesn't have that much wear on it. And here is the bottom of the cylinder head. Again, you know, carbon. That's what you get with these old tractor engines, especially when they don't run for extended periods of time and warm up and blow this out. Yeah. No obvious blows in the head gasket, no obvious cracks in the head, although you can't tell for sure until you clean it up. You can pull this old head gasket off and have a look at it next and the underside of it here. Nothing earth-shattering here either. This is the block side of the head gasket. Of course, this is an old metal sandwich head gasket. I like these head gaskets with copper sealing rings on it. I don't see any evidence again of any blown head gasket here, so we're good. That's the top side. And then here on the top of the block, you know, we just want to look for anything unusual, cracks, although I don't expect to see any. Just carbony, that's all, needs good cleaning. And I know this is going to sound goofy to the perfectionists out there, but one way you can check if the pistons are worn, you know, if the skirts have become worn, is just the wiggle test. The piston wiggles it all in the bore, and these don't. I'm hoping I can reuse these. Next, I'm going to open up the bottom end of the engine by taking the oil pan off. And that way we can take a look at the bearing clearances and pull the pistons. Okay, got all the bolts off. Let's get this off. First of all, take a look inside this oil pan. You want to feel for gritty pieces, like pieces of metal. And if you see a lot of gray stuff, that's bearing material. This has got nothing in it. This is that milky oil again from running it cool. Just a little bit of sludge in the bottom. I've had this pan off, well, I guess it's been 15 years, but there's nothing in here alarming. No parts of pistons or rings or anything like that. Now we can scooch up under here and get dripped on by the oil pickup and take a look at what we've got. A few notable things about this family of engines. These are wet sleeved engines, which means that the cylinder sleeves are directly in the cooling jacket and they have O-rings at the bottom that seal them to the block, and sometimes those O-rings can leak and you'll see drips of antifreeze where they're leaking, so you want to look for that. And I don't see anything, and there was no evidence that it was leaking antifreeze into the block before. The other notable thing is these oil pumps right here. These are notorious for blowing a seal. In other words, this cover is thin enough where it warps enough where oil will blow out the side of it, and then that'll read like you've got a tired engine. It'll read low oil pressure when it gets warm. The solution for that, and I've done that with this one already, is to take this bottom cover off and get a piece of float glass with sandpaper on it and sand the top side of this cover flat again to take the warp out of it. And then you, of course, got to get the right gasket thickness. I think I used a piece of cereal box in here to get the right gasket thickness to get the oil pump to seal properly. And now the oil pressure on this engine is just fine, which is one indicator that these bearings are doing all right. When I first got this tractor, I pulled the pan off and fixed the oil pump, and I also replaced the main bearings and the rod bearings on the crankshaft. They had standard main and rod bearings, and the date on them I think was in the 60s if I remember right, and they were worn, so I put in same size standard bearings, and I've never had a problem with the holding oil pressure. It acts like it has fairly tight bearings. The oil pressure kind of slowly goes down when you're done operating the tractor, but I think what I'm going to do is pull at least one main bearing cap and measure the clearance and look at the crankshaft journal and do the same for rod bearing. Actually, I'm going to pull out all 4 pistons because I want to clean them up, and it just makes sense to at the very least, re-ring them while I'm into the engine. It's cheap and it's good insurance, and that's what I'm going to do after the oil quits dripping on me. Before I do that though, I'm going to pull out this oil pump so it's not in the way, and so that it doesn't annoy me anymore by dripping on me all the time. There's your oil pump driven off the camshaft. There's that plate that I was talking about that needs to be sanded flat. What a mess. It's the next day. I had to quit early yesterday to make a pork butt and sweet corn for Sunday dinner. And of course I got to work around feeding the animals and all that, so it's not like I can work all day long. But the first thing we're going to do here is pull off one of the rod bearing caps and measure the clearance to see if we're within spec or not. Well, let's just do number 2. In order to measure running clearance on these bearings, I put a piece of red plastic gauge in this rod bearing cap, and red plastic gauge is meant to measure 2 to 6 thousandths clearance based on how much it crushes. Running clearance on these spec is 1 thousandths to 3.5 thousandths. I doubt they'll be 1 thousandths, so the 02 to 06, 2 to 6 thousandths should work fine. We'll torque it back in. 2 mark, number 2 piston goes toward the crankshaft. Put this cap back on and torque it to 45 foot-pounds. And then reverse it, take it back off, see how much crush that we got. The plastic gauge stuck to the crankshaft journal, which isn't uncommon. You just read the little scale here. And it looks like we're running, that's 03 on that end. And that's 04 plus a little bit on that end. That's 3 thousandths to 4 thousandths. And the crankshaft journal looks pretty good. Nothing I can catch with my finger in there. So now we can go ahead and pull the piston. And I want to push this up. Be careful not to hit the journal. I think I can just take this block of wood, put it on the end of the stud on the connecting rod and push the piston out. There we go. And here's our piston, number 2 piston. Now comes the difficult part, and it's really not a linear process for me evaluating what to do with this engine. I look at a whole bunch of different things and think about it. There's more play on the piston pins than I would like to see. That's factor 1, I guess you can call it. It's not terrible, but I'm used to these being fairly tight. There's a spec for that. And then when I look at the piston, I've got some wear where you would expect to see wear. This is the way that the piston is free to travel side to side as it goes up and down in the bore. The rings, well, the only way I have of evaluating the rings is by taking the ring and putting it back in the bore, getting it square with the piston top, and then putting a 20 thousandths feeler gauge in the end gap of the rings. Maximum ring end gap is 20 thousandths, and that's loose in there. See how loose that is? And that's a decent way to evaluate both sleeve and ring wear, because as the ring wears, that gap at the ends of the ring is going to increase. And then as far as looking at the sleeve goes, evaluation, you know, there's the ridge, which after further investigation you can feel on some parts of the sleeve but not on others. So there is some wear in the sleeve. The sleeve is obviously, it's gone smooth from where it's not got that hatch pattern on it anymore. So at this point I'm thinking I've got 2 options. Number 1 is kind of what I expected to do in the beginning, which is reuse the pistons. I'd have to hone the cylinders to put the hatch back on them, cover the crankshaft to protect it while I'm honing with the crankshaft in, put a new set of rings in on the existing pistons, reuse the piston pins, piston pin bushings, and have the head redone. That's option 1. Option 2 is to do a complete rebuild, and it's not something I expected to get into with this engine because it runs pretty good except for smoking a little bit, and when it gets hot it loosens up a little bit, mostly in the valve train. But for me, what really told the story is this. See this ridge? This is the main bearing, or the main bearing journal on the crankshaft. This is the oil groove that goes around the bearing. This ridge is probably, just from feel, 1 to 2 thousandths tall on the center here. Now when I replaced the bearing shelves when I first got this tractor, they had been replaced before. So this engine's gone twice just having new bearings put in without polishing or grinding the crankshaft. That oil groove buildup is what the crankshaft should be, so that's how much wear I have on the crankshaft, at least 1 or 2 thousandths, and it's uneven wear. When I put plastic gauge on the main bearing, the clearance was 5 to 6 thousandths. Spec is maximum of 3.5 thousandths. I have uneven wear on the bearings here. This is the main bearing that came off that crankshaft journal that I just showed you. See how it's worn on this side and worn on this side? Things are rattling around in there a little bit. I think the tolerances are a lot looser than they should be. So as I said, this is all a judgment call. You could go either way. I mean, I could have left this engine together and it ran fine, and it would have run fine for years for the use that we're giving this tractor. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to go through this tractor, probably not to the extent that I did the MD because I've already done some things to it. And I want to make sure this tractor runs well for the rest of my life. And if I'm going to put paint on this and make it look like new, getting into the engine and doing this isn't a big deal in the big scheme of things. I mean, it's kind of like you want it to be right when you're done, right? Not to have a half-tired or three-quarter tired engine underneath a new paint job. If I were in a different mindset, not restoring the tractor, I probably would have just had the head done, or maybe done nothing and just brought it on down the road, so to speak. The other two factors that come in is, number one, how cheap rebuild kits for this engine are. I looked online and the lower half rebuild kit, you know, new sleeves, new pistons, rings, bearings, piston pins, $450 for the engine. That's cheap. So that enters into the equation. And the second thing that enters into the equation is I'm doing this on YouTube. So this engine is a real common engine. The 113 variant was in the A's and B's and C's. The 123 was used in the Super C's. Both of these engines were also used in things like balers and combines back in the day. There's thousands and thousands of them around. Lots of people wanting to do them. Doing a complete rebuild on this engine is instructional for a lot of people, so that makes it more worth my time to pull the engine and go through it completely for anybody in the future that wants to do one of these. In addition, this engine survived all the way up to the 153 variant that's in my Farmall 504. The sleeveless bored out version is pretty much the same engine. So this is such a common engine, it's worth doing a complete rebuild on YouTube step by step for folks to learn from. That means the next thing to do, and it's easier to pull the rest of the pistons and things after I get the engine out when I can put it on a stand, flip it over, pull the front end off the engine, which just bolts on right here with 4 bolts, take that off, put the splitting stands on the bell housing, take the engine off, put it on the engine stand, strip the engine down, take the crankshaft out, take the head to Mr. Richards and have him go through it. Find a shop to grind the crankshaft to 10 under. I think I can do that. Don't need to take the block to the shop because these are wet sleeves. I can pull these sleeves myself, clean out the cooling jacket, and set the new sleeves in and new O-rings at the bottoms of the sleeves. And then this is the part where you just get what we used to call in architecture scope creep. Originally my plan was just to strip down the main chassis here, clean it, paint it, start painting parts, putting them back on because I've been through various pieces of that. But once you get the engine off, you're saying, well, I better look at the clutch, you know, I better look at the transmission seals, and then, you know, it just grows and grows into a lot more of a project than I had planned on doing. But that's the way it goes. When you do something, you do it right. So I guess that's the plan. Much different than I planned on last week or even yesterday. The reason I opened up this tractor so soon is I wanted to get what I needed to have done at the machine shop in line early, because machine shops get busier with this kind of restoration work in the wintertime, and I think that Mr. Richards may go south for the winter. So I plan on getting the head to him in the next few days, getting the engine apart to pull the crank, getting the crank out to the machine shop, hopefully sometime this week, and that's going to sit well because I'm busy with stuff outside and while the machine shops do their work. And then when the weather turns, we can really get going on this. That's the plan. Anyway, thanks for hanging with me for kind of a longish video, but as I said in the very beginning, it's episode 1 of what's sure to be many episodes. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. This is episode 2 of Farmall Super C restoration. Luckily, it's raining out today. I needed an excuse to work in the shop, and the goal today is to split this tractor, get the front end off, pull the engine, and be able to take the crankshaft out of the engine. That's the real goal, so I can get the crankshaft to the machine shop. First thing we want to do is take the water pump off this because it's in the way of getting this casting off, the front end casting. When I get into a job like this, I like to finish it. So in this case, finishing it, well, come off there, is to get everything to the machine shop. I took the head and the connecting rods and the rocker arms down to David Richards this morning so that he's got everything he needs. The crank is going to a separate shop. David Richards doesn't grind cranks, so I've got to get the crank out and get it to that shop, and then I'll feel like I'm at a stopping place and I can rest a little bit on this job because I got to wait for the machine shops to do their work. There's our little water pump. I got my hoist hooked up to the front casting, and now we just got to crank on these to raise up the tractor. Our patented splitting stands take the weight off the front wheels here. And then there's just 4 bolts we got to take out. There's one here, there's one on the other side back here, a bolt with a nut on it here, and then another bolt in back there, and this whole front end will slide out. I do make an exception, use power tools sometimes. For these big bolts, I'd rather do that. No, you're gonna be tough, aren't you? I got a cure for that. You do not want to come off. There we go. And I think I'll go ahead and take the governor off and get it out of the way too. This governor is pretty much the same as the one that I tore down and rebuilt on a 504 last fall. Now we come to the part that I've been looking forward to. Not really. We have to pull this crankshaft pulley off, and it's a tapered fit. There's no nut on the end of it or anything. You gotta use a puller. I'm gonna put a split or a bearing splitter on here to get behind the pulley. We're gonna set it right around the back of the pulley like this. Should still be a good firm grip. Don't have to worry about breaking the pulley when you got a bearing splitter on the back side of it. Now way back in the center here is a threaded hole that you use. You can use it to draw the pulley back on when you're installing it. I'm just going to use what I call a sacrificial socket there so I don't mess up the threads, and the tapered point of the puller can rest down on that and spin on it. Then I can put the puller on here. Let's see if we can get it to move with just the impact wrench. She moved. Let's see what we got here. Bearing splitter. Pulley. See, this is tapered in here to fit on the shaft. No nut in the center. Just. And look at this. Somebody put a speedy sleeve on here. See that? Where the seal rides? Somebody's been in here and done some work. Saved me a little bit of work. I got a nice smooth surface for the seal. And then here's the end of the crankshaft. There's a key that goes on the shaft, and down in here is that threaded hole I was talking about for reinstalling the pulley. Oh, Craftsman sockets made to live forever. Didn't even hurt my sacrificial socket. This crankshaft pulley came off about as easily as anyone I've ever done, and let me show you my secret. All you got to do is have the torch at the ready, and then the pulley knows you mean business. Next we'll pull this distributor drive and distributor off. There's just 2 bolts that hold these on. That's the little key that drives the distributor and the distributor gear. Look at that, I still got a wire hooked up here. And these are the governor weights. They fly out to control the RPMs of the engine. You know, it's all centrifugal force. Comes right out of there. Next job is to remove the fuel tank, and I want to get the sediment bowl off here so it doesn't get smashed. Take the bail off. Whoops. Oh well. There's always a little bit of fuel left in the tank because this little standpipe on top of the sediment bowl. I'll just wipe it up with a rag, and then I can store the rag with all the other greasy rags underneath the shop heater. Safest place. We gotta pull off the fuel tank because this bracket mounts to the back of the block. It would help if I had the right size. And the rear fuel tank mount is on top of the touch control hydraulic block here. One on each side.
I use PayPal to buy this ticket. I'm paying it off over time. No fees, no interest.
You know what else has no interest? Me.
You can pay your own way.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
The captain needs you back in the cockpit.
Oh, yeah, sir. What?
We're giving kids everywhere a chance to live, a chance at a lifetime.
This holiday, help St. Jude find more cures for more children. Donate now at stjude.org.
Then we can take off this bracket that holds the fuel tank up that's mounted to the engine. This is a hydraulic pump here. It runs off the timing gears. We got to take care of that next. We got to detach this set of pipes that runs back to the auxiliary control valve here and the touch control hydraulic block. Actually, we're just going to remove the pipes. This end is kind of way down in there behind the auxiliary valve. Oops. That takes care of that. We are almost ready to pull this engine out. We just got to take this cover plate off here. It covers the end of the flywheel. Oh, yummy, yummy. Mice made a home. There's the flywheel. And I'm going to take the timing cover off just because it's really easy to get at here. It's at a nice height, so might as well take it off. We got about 1 million bolts here. I'm really amazed that that crank pulley had a speedy sleeve on it, and all the tractors I've torn down, that's the first speedy sleeve I've run into, and the crank I know hasn't been turned because it's still got standard bearings in it. Somebody took the time to repair a leaking front main seal here. That's very surprising. I'm certainly not a big fan of these sheet metal front timing covers because sometimes they aren't that easy to get sealed, especially this part right here where the governor attaches on. You've got a gasket that runs in here with not a lot to hold it from deflecting, and it makes it fun to seal up. She needs a little bit of persuasion. Yeah, see, they use this thick gasket in here to give it more of a chance of sealing. And this is the front seal for the crankshaft, a lip seal. Well, what have we got going on here? It's a funny wear mark there. Huh. Guess we'll have to take a look at that. Here's the end of the crankshaft. So this rotates twice for every time that the camshaft rotates. That's the relationship. And then here is the hydraulic pump drive gear, and this is where the governor drives off. There's a gear that goes right here. I'm going to have to take a look at all these because this has got a funny wear mark on it. That's about what I expect for backlash. Yeah. Now we can put the hoist on the engine and get ready to lift it. I know that someone will say, because they always do, that I should be using these to lift it. This engine is so light, and it's easier for me using this chain to fit through a 3/8" bolt here, that it'll be fine. The 3 years of structural engineering that I took in college tell me so. We've got 6 bolts here to attach the engine, 2 on each side, and then 2 up top here. Break them all loose. Well, that was easy. That was easy too. These are the last 2 bolts right here. Well, you get out of the way. There's still probably 2 alignment dowels in here, someplace in the joint that's holding things up. Let's see if she'll break loose. That was weird. There you go. So what we see from the back of the engine here is the clutch, pressure plates down in there. Here's the flywheel. And then on the tractor end of things, we've got the clutch shaft here going in where it seats into the pilot bearing, and then we've got lots of mouse crap in the bell housing. Whoops. You can just see the clutch throwout bearing back here, and there's the starter drive right there. In order to put this on the engine stand, I gotta take the clutch and the flywheel off.
This is Grammarly's AI writing app. You're writing from start to finish all in one place. Whether it's emails, essays, or proposals, Grammarly helps you brainstorm, draft, refine, and polish without juggling multiple tools and always in a way that sounds like you. Just click the AI chat and your writing space is ready with exactly what you need. From a blank page to a polished draft, Grammarly keeps everything flowing in one place with less hassle and more focus. Grammarly's AI writing app for clearer writing, faster results, and less stress.
Brightspeed fiber internet's fast, super fast, totally fast, crazy fast, ultra fast! I bet your internet could be faster.
Switch to ultra-fast Brightspeed fiber internet today. Switch to the bright side.
Now, there's 6 bolts holding this on. I did the 3 opposite ones, or 3, skipped one every time. This got spring pressure on it. So then you just loosen them up a little at a time. See the forks coming out there? That's the spring pressure releasing. And pretty soon we'll be at the end of the spring travel. I think we already are. So here's the clutch. And here is the pressure plate. Yeah, we're going to want to replace that when we're in here. Get the flywheel turned too. Then we can take the flywheel off. There's just some locking tabs that need to be bent back here. I'm going to want to lower this down before I take the flywheel off because it's pretty heavy. You know what? This is a good job for the impact wrench. All right. One flywheel. Yeah, see how that's cracked in there? I want to get that turned. Then what we have here is the other end of the crankshaft, the rear end, and then the rear main seal, which is a 2-piece deal with felt in it, if I remember right, to make the seal. Let's clean this up a little bit. Lots of mouse duty on here. And I want to pull this rear main seal off because it needs to come off to get the crankshaft out, and I want to get it off before I put it on the engine stand because it's hard to get at once the engine's on the stand. we'll apply a little persuasion here. Yeah. There's one side, yeah, felt seal in there. And there's the other side. Now we can get this engine mated up to the engine stand. Oh, gonna need some washers there. Actually, we should put that the other way around so it can spin without hitting this upright here. That's just goofy, all those washers. What the heck is he thinking? Let's let it down. We can turn her over, see what runs out. What do we see here? Well, there's the crankshaft. There's 3 main bearings, and the rearmost bearing is the thrust bearing. You can see the flange coming up, and the thrust bearing is what limits movement of the crankshaft back and forth this way. And usually one bearing does that job. In this case, it's the rear one. All we got to do is pop these 2 covers off, and then we can pull the crankshaft off. There's the camshaft way down there, and the lifters are underneath that. There's one. There's 2 still connected to the rear main seal gasket. Just got to flatten off these lock plates, and then we can take the bearings out and the crankshaft off. Pop these bearing caps off. Always look to see how they're identified. Where's the mark? What am I missing here? Oh, there's the mark. You can barely see it. That's number 1. Of course, the mark always goes to the camshaft side, so that's 1 bearing. Always count from the front. Number 1. Middle bearing, number 2, and the rear thrust bearing marked number 3. Yeah, look at that. Uneven wear. Now we can pull the crankshaft. There we go. Here's the crankshaft. You can see that's where the oil groove is on the bearing that fits around this.
Listen up. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you're still paying full price when you shop online, we need to talk. You know that thrill you feel when you find a discount code that actually works? Imagine that, but automatic. I'm talking coupon codes that find you free rewards and over 100,000 brands to save on. Clothes covered, entertainment covered, even your favorite tech. You're already shopping, you might as well get something back, right? Add the Capital One shopping extension today.
Progressive makes it easy to see if you can save money with a commercial auto quote online, so you can get back to your monster to-do list.
Super helpful.
See if you can save money at progressivecommercial.com.
Thank you.
And it's got quite a bit of scoring on it. There's the 3rd main bearing. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 rod journals here. Pistons connect to the rod journals, or connecting rods do. And then this is the thrust bearing here. These are the flanges that the thrust bearing sides ride against. And then the main rear main oil seal goes right in here. And the front main seal, of course, rides on the pulley that goes around the shaft. And with crankshafts, I was always taught to store them upright. Believe it or not, folks say that they'll sag one way or the other if you store them on their side. So you stand them up or you hang them. Vertical. We can pull out the camshaft and have a look at it. I gotta figure out, there's the one retainer screw bolt. There's another one. Everything's 9/16 on this engine, except when it's 5/8. Oh. Here's the camshaft. These are the 3 bearing journals that the bearings ride on in the block. And thrust is taken, back and forth movement by this plate here. And these are always fine. I've never run into one with a problem. And then the cams here, you know, you look at the points and make sure you don't see anything that shouldn't be there. And they're all fine. I've never run into one that had a problem yet. This is the gear that drives the oil pump. And of course this gear up front is driven by the crankshaft gear. And I guess the last moving part that we haven't messed with is the tappets or lifters that ride on the camshafts. These flat faces ride on the camshaft lobes up and down to push the push rod, rock the rocker arm, and valve the valve. These have always been fine. There's no galling or anything or wear, you know, it's flat. Never had a problem with any of these. I always keep these. I will take these out for cleaning, but I always number these because I want them to go in the same bore that they were in, because they rode in and wore into the bore that they ride up and down in here. Oh, and the other thing to note here is the camshafts on these engines don't have replaceable bearings. They just ride directly in the bore. It's a good thing that these camshafts rarely have any wear on them to speak of. And that's it. Like I keep saying, these little engines, they are really nice to work on. Very easy. That pulley, though, on the crankshaft, that could have given me a go, but it didn't at all. All in all, it took me about 3 hours to do what I did in this video. If the crankshaft pulley had given me problems, it might have taken me 5 hours. Who knows? Although with the torch, that's mighty convincing to something like a pulley that is stubborn. What's next? Well, I'm going to take the crankshaft to the shop that grinds cranks tomorrow morning and get that in line. So we've got our machine work all set in line at the machine shops plenty early for this winter, which makes me feel better. I got to clean up this block. Well, I got to pull the sleeves out, and I'll probably put that in a video and show you what the cooling jacket looks inside and what the sleeves look like. Aside from the engine though, I can start stripping down this frame back here. The touch control block housing rock shafts, that comes all out as one unit. The battery, the tree, the steering wheel, the seat. Strip all this down and I can start getting ready for cleaning that up. And I got to do some work on the brakes. We got to look inside the bell housing. So that's the way it goes. Now that I got this done though, I don't know when I'm going to be back on this, because we've gotten what I wanted to get done. I'll be back to farm work outside. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's been a fun project. So far, no major rocks in the road. I'll see you next time.
In a world that never slows down, you need power that moves with you. Light as air, smart as you. Because the future isn't just fast, it's weightless. The laptop that moves with you. Asus ZenBook A14.
Prada, 2000 runway.
eBay 2025. Dior from eBay.
Back with the baguette.
Fendi, guaranteed authentic. Let me guess.
eBay.
Same.
Millions of pre-loved finds backed by authenticity guarantee. eBay. Things people love.
Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. I just can't stay away from the Super C project. Whenever I've got an hour to spare here and there, I've been puttering away on it. So I got the engine block all cleaned up. I stripped the engine block down the rest of the way. I took the sleeves out, which are no big deal, and here's some video of how easy they came out. And I took the head studs off, took the gallery oil plugs out of the side of the engine so I could clean out the oil gallery, stripped every piece off, took the soft plug off of the coolant gallery down here so I could wash that out. And then I took a pressure washer and degreaser and just blasted the crap out of it and cleaned all the gunk off of it. It came out pretty good. Looks clean again. After I was done pressure washing, I took all the surfaces I worried might rust, like this mating surface on the top of the block and the bearing journals down in there, and I put a little light coat of oil on them so that they wouldn't rust. And what I need to do next while I'm waiting for my machine shop work to be finished is to strip down the rear end of the tractor. I want to get everything off of the transmission, the final drive, and the torque tube so I can pull the torque tube off, clean out the torque tube, check the transmission seals. I want to pull the rear wheels and the rear wheel centers off. Just get this down so maybe, hopefully, I can get it cleaned up and ready to paint before it gets cold out. That way I can have all the doors open, maybe push this outside even. Makes it a lot less dirty process. So that's what we're doing today, or for a little while today, a little while, a couple days from now. I'll put it all together into one video. First thing to do is to take this battery box apart and get it off. Didn't I just have this off not too long ago? Boy, whoever put this bolt on sure is strong. Here's one side. And here's the other side. Now we can get started on removing the hydraulic touch control unit right here, which comes off as one piece. First thing to do is disconnect the fast hitch connection here. Just got to pull a pin out. See the pin? Comes off. Down you go. And then on the other side of the tractor, this is the hydraulic valve that controls the up and down on the fast hitch. So we got to disconnect that. Well, you're just being, you know, I didn't want you to give me any trouble. Didn't we talk about this yesterday? It'd help if I turned you the right way, wouldn't it? Then you would be more cooperative. And I think I'll pull the starter off because it helps me get at the mounting bolt for the touch control. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. We gotta swing this up. Take that out. There we go. Now we're going to take this touch control unit off. There's just 4 bolts, one on each corner of it, that hook it down to the torque tube down here. And what the touch control is basically it's hydraulic valve controls and the hydraulic cylinders all in one block. So if you take this back plate off, there's a whole bunch of little check valves, O-rings, springs, all that kind of stuff. Then you can rebuild these. They're not too hard to rebuild. This one works great, so I'm not going to rebuild it. And then in the front, you've got 2 hydraulic cylinders, one here and one here. And this one drives, I'm going to forget now, I think this side and that outer one over there. And then this one just drives this one inside one that's used to control the fast hitch. I know a bunch of people asked that I would take this apart and rebuild this one, but it works great. I have taken them apart and rebuilt them before. You just take these 2 plates off, then you can clean out the case. This one's got a new filter that I put into it because the old one had a tear in it. And you can take that out and check that out, clean the case out. When you pull this plate off, you got to make sure that all the little doodads that go in the multiple holes that are drilled into the block, you keep track of them. And then you get a rebuild kit from Case IH that's got all the wear parts in it, the O-rings, the springs, and the gaskets, everything you need. And you just put it back together. Just make sure everything's clean. This thing's kind of heavy. It's one of those things, you know, you can barely pick it up, so I'm going to use the hoist. Probably when I did the Super, I picked it up, but well, I'm a lot older now. And there she is. This is the face that mounts down on the top of the torque tube. Underneath here you can see the 2 hydraulic cylinders, and they have leather boots that protect them from getting dust in them. A lot of times these boots will be all ripped. And then the control valves are right here, and they have their own little leather boots. So these pins on the control valves here connect through linkages up to the levers at the operator station.
Best Buy has Cyber Monday deals now. Save on Cyber Monday deals before they're over.
If you're a small business owner like me, or you're thinking about becoming one, GoDaddy Aero makes it incredibly easy to get started online in just minutes. Let's say you want to start a business reviewing vacuum cleaners. All you have to do is enter a few keywords, and Aero will recommend the best available domains. Once you choose one, it will ask you a couple questions about your business, and then immediately start building a coming soon website for you. It's a great way to give future customers a preview while you work on building out the rest. You can also create a logo, schedule social media posts, and generate email templates, all powered by AI. If you're ready to start your dream business, give it a try.
This one is in really good shape. I've never had to mess with it, and it's never leaked. I'm just going to close up these openings with tape here. We want to keep the hydraulic system clean, and then I'll put it away for storage. Next, we can get inside the wiring box here, right behind where the battery sits, and disconnect the wires that run out to the battery and the engine and the starter. Getting ready to take this whole assembly here off the tractor. I got all the connecting wiring out of here, and temperature gauge too. Now there's just 3 bolts down the bottom of here to undo, to take what I call the tree off. All of this that mounts the steering wheel, lights, levers, all that stuff. There we go. We'll get these hydraulic lines out of the way. This is a check valve block here. I rebuilt this once when I went through the hydraulics. I rebuilt the rear cylinder too. Put new seals in that, because everything was leaking. Next we can get this seat off. Like I said, I've done a lot on this tractor. I rebuilt the seat, I put bushings in, everything was loose. This is a new box. The old one had rusted out on the bottom, so I've been through a lot of this tractor. It's all going to get repainted. Now we got to take the 2-point hitch off, the Farmall fast hitch. And this here is the cylinder that raises and lowers it. So we'll take that off, drop the hitch on the floor. These 2-point hitches, the fast hitches, they're pretty complicated. There's a draft link up front that you can fix or hook to the touch control to control draft on plowing. When you're plowing, it's got the tilt control that I already disconnected. There's a lot to these. But first we'll get this cylinder disconnected. This is my fix for missing a piece on this pin, piece of fencing wire. And then this rod right here is the float control. So if I pull this pin out, well, come on, you. It's been a while, hasn't it? Persuasion. Now
okay, guys, I'm gonna probably stop my live stream real quick, and I'll cut it, guys, and I will be live stream tomorrow.